Hello. I know it's been a minute. I know it's been a minute. Stop sending me messages being like, it's been 6 weeks, it's been 7 weeks. I know how long it's been since I've last released an episode. I know life has been lifing in 2026, even though I'm still feeling quite positive about the year, but life has thrown me a new, whatever the phrase is, you know what I mean. But I'm back and I have an announcement. So it's not what you think. It's not what you think. Get your mind away from there. It's not what you think. My announcement is that you may be listening to this, but if you prefer to watch this, you can do that now because the goal that I had this year, which was to start releasing, oh my gosh, police. Can you hear that? Can you hear the police? The goal that I had this year to release both audio and video versions of the podcast is now finally starting. I ended up having everything that I needed to make that happen. I was watching lots of videos of like how to release a video version of the podcast, both video and audio. What equipment do I need? What tools do I need? And it turns out that I already had everything I needed. So we thank God for that. But this year has been, I will get into what's been going on this year. It's been quite a lot. But oh my goodness, have you guys watched the Tyra Banks thing on Netflix? I think is like Wanna Be on Top. Um, the America's Next Top Model documentary. I started watching it, but then my husband was like, let's watch it together. So I said, okay, pause. So we still need to catch up on that. But I loved America's Next Top Model when I was younger. Loved it. It was brilliant TV. It was so much fun seeing the models do all these like fun shoots and stuff. But a lot of the toxicity of it is now being presented to the world. And I need to watch it because I think a lot of the things that happened, I mean, that I remember happening at least, it was just what it was like back then. And I've been seeing a lot of things online of people just being like, Tyra Banks is awful, this is abusive, this and the other, and which I'm sure it is. But yeah, I need to watch it and we'll discuss it in maybe next week or in the near future episode of the podcast. So make sure you watch it this week because I might actually discuss it next week. We'll see. I don't want to give you any spoilers. So what else have I been up to in the time since I last released an episode? Not much, really. Not much. A lot of just being like feeling quite low and feeling quite confused. There's been a lot of confusion over the last 2 months. A lot of confusion in regards to what I'm meant to be doing next, where my next path is. I mean, as you know, last year I took a career break, and this year I've started really looking for jobs more seriously, and it has been such a journey. I wanted to find a job because my bank account is like, feed me, feed me, feed me. So I need to feed it. And how I feed it is by getting a job that pays me. So I was saying to my husband that, okay, what, like a list of what I wanted in my next role. I wanted a job that paid a certain amount and that certain high amount. And also, I didn't have to do that much work for. That's like the most ideal. I don't think I'm asking for too much with that. Um, so that's what I was looking for. And I started applying and getting lots of interviews and interviewing. And I was just like, this job that I want needs to allow me to, one, just create the things I want to create outside of work. It needs to allow me to travel and do all the other bits and pieces that I want to be doing with my life. It needs to just be easy and simple and not require a lot of effort from me. I mean, my husband and I, we haven't traveled as much as we wanted to in the last few years, but now we're like, we're ready to go. And I have like a 4 star minimum when we travel because I want to be comfortable. I hate being uncomfortable and I really want to be comfortable. And not like a bad like a good 4 star with room service or like gowns and slippers included, just like a nice, clean environment with all the amenities I need. And like, I mean, we went to this hotel once in Manchester and I think it was a 4 star hotel. And it was terrible. Like, it was terrible. These stars are not regulated. They need to be regulated a lot more closely because you can't say 4 star and serve up what you served up. Like, I was scared. I was scared. It reminded me, I felt like I was in Supercell or I was in just some dangerous area of town. But apparently it was meant to be quite a high-end hotel, but it wasn't. It wasn't. How can you advertise that and then serve up danger to me? I felt like I needed to be walking around with a bat in case someone attacks me or something. And then my husband was like, babe, this is a four-star Marriott. And I was like, I don't like, I genuinely, actually, I retract that. I retract needing four-star. I just want somewhere that feels safe, that's nice, that's clean, that has all the amenities that I need. That's all I need. Because this place, I mean, the bed was good. The bed was a good size and it was really comfortable. The living room had this like really, really hard couch. Like this hard couch. I'm just like, why? Like, you don't want people to be comfortable? It was harder and it was small, which is not a good pairing. Um, and then the bathroom was the worst of the worst. It was the worst of the worst. The bathroom, so it was one of the those like bath shower situations, which I'm fine with. But when I go to a hotel, I want like either a proper shower or a bath and a separate shower. But this wasn't that. It was the combined did one. Um, and whenever we'd shower, the water would leak out onto the floor. It would fall down the shower screen and leak down onto the floor. And I'm just like, why? Why is this happening? Because we had to take all the towels and the bath mats and soak up all the water. And I'm like, we just can't continue doing this. And I love having a shower. Like, having a shower is like one of the most peaceful places for me. And I couldn't have a peaceful shower in that place because I knew that having a shower would be followed up by so much tidying up. But anyway, I wanted a job to allow me to do all the things that I wanted to do to the level of quality I want to do it at. And that was my main reason for looking again. So I had all these interviews. I think I've probably had like 30 interviews in the last 2 months, and not all with the same company. Some of them are multiple stages, but I just kept on getting rejected from all of them. And I'm like, God, what is going on? Because I don't want these jobs. Genuinely, I don't want these jobs. All I want is the money that it gives me, and the money will allow me to do the things that I want to do. And I just kept getting rejected. I'm like, okay, should I go for like a lower level? Maybe like a step down. Maybe it's not leading an entire department. Maybe it's more focusing on one particular function. So I was like, okay, cool, let me start applying for those ones, but nothing. I'd still be getting the interviews. I've had so many interviews, spoken to so many people, so many different companies, and I'm just like, I'm tired because I don't actually want what I'm applying to. And there's nothing to do with the company or the role. Like, the company and roles, they're all fine, but it's me. Like, I'm the problem. All I've been wanting is just to earn money. That's simply it, and earn money to allow me to do the things that I want to do. But it just felt like I was getting so blocked from these roles. Like, it was like there was a holy hand of God blocking, like closing these doors, and I just could not get them opened. And I just kept on going. I kept on applying, kept on interviewing. And then I started changing like the roles I was looking for. So I started off from going for like the top roles, and I was okay, cool, one step down. And I was like, what more could I do now? Because I was exhausted, like a type of exhaustion I haven't experienced before. And don't get me wrong, I'm used to rejections. Most of my life has been rejections, obviously, because you're not going to have as many yeses as comparatively to no's. You're not going to have that. That's just not the way life works. I mean, for most people, I believe. But the rejections were exhausting me. And in the past, when I've been rejected, there's been an air of like I'm just fatigued because of this, but also like there's a disappointment I felt because I really wanted the roles I was applying for. I wanted, like, I had like my career um path laid out in front of me, and I knew that if I did the next thing, that would help me get to the next thing, and so on and so forth. But with how I've been looking for roles in this current season, I haven't really wanted my career. I don't want to stay in my career, but I know that if I can get a job at the level that I'm currently operating at, that can, oh gosh, it just all goes back to money, to be honest with you. And as I was going through the processes, what was going on internally just kept on changing. Like, I went from wanting a high paying job that required very little work of me, which I'm not sure how possible that is at this point in my life. That I took a step back, being like, okay, a high paying job, just leading a function rather than an entire department that is like maybe more medium level work. Was getting those interviews, but nothing was sticking. And then I was like, okay, cool. Let me take another step back and be like, give me a job that pays me my minimum, and not like my minimum for life, just my minimum in relation to my previous earnings, and requires medium to low level of work from me. And I was getting those interviews, time moved, and I kept on getting those interviews. But for some reason, I just wasn't going past the second stage. So the first stage is typically with the recruiter, and the second stage is with the hiring manager. And I just wasn't getting past the hiring manager stage for some reason. I did not know what I was doing wrong. I mean, some jobs gave me feedback, which I appreciated, and I tweaked things and changed things so that in the next role that I talk to, it would be a much easier, and I'd be a lot stronger for those next roles. And it still just felt like God was blocking these roles. Like it was like there was a wall that would slam down in front of each job, and I just couldn't get through. And I still don't know why. I mean, I think I know why now, which I'll talk about in a bit. But there was a point where I sort of sat in my decision of it doesn't matter what level the role's at. Let me just get a role that's, general marketing, that's paying me my highest minimum, and I'll be fine with that. And once I made that decision, it felt like things were progressing. I was moving on to further stages. I was moving on to task stages as well, which you have to work on a task and present it back to like a panel of people. And things seemingly were moving. But what was weird about it was that even though I made that decision to go for like a lower level role that was paying me my highest minimum, those jobs were still putting me in charge of departments. Actually, thinking about it now, I was going to be in charge of departments, but earning my lowest level minimum rather than being in charge of departments and earning my highest, like the highest I could earn. What the heck? I'm just like clocking that now because I did not put these things together. That's weird. That's weird. Like, that makes no sense. Why would I still do a lot of work and like I'm leading departments? Like, why would I want to lead a department and be paid my lowest level minimum rather than lead a department and be paid like the highest I could earn? That makes no sense. But that's what was happening in a few different roles. Like there was a point where I had 10, literally 10 different processes going on at exactly the same time. That's too many processes. I had like a Google Doc of these are all the roles, this is what they're paying, this is who the people are, and what they're in charge of, this is what the company does. And I was like having to take calls, refresh my memory on like what the company actually is, who they actually are, and like try and sell myself and sell my skills and do all those things. And I was just exhausted. Why? Because I didn't want anything. I was working so hard for something that I ultimately did not want. What the heck? And there was a point more recently where I was in less than 10, but in six processes. And I think three of them were lower level, but still in charge of the department, and being paid my highest, lowest minimum, my highest, you know what I mean? And then one of them was like almost three steps back and into a subcategory, which I've been like, I don't really know about that, but I'm more or less coming around to it now. And out of those six companies, there was a point where I believed I was going to get three offers, and then just weird stuff started to happen. So the first company, my mentor was at, and he sent me a message being like, hey Veda, I've joined this new company and I'm building out my team. I'd love for you to come on board and meet the team, learn about the role, and like let me know whether you like want to be a part of this company. And I was like, wonderful, brilliant. I loved working with him. He's an amazing guy. And I started to have a conversation with him, and I was like, yeah, cool, this role sounds good. The company and the product that they have is good. So I met with the head of the department, and then I think like in total like 7 people from the company I met with, and all the stages went really really well. They had really positive feedback, and I was like at the final stage, which was the offer stage. There was no task in that one, which I was like, perfect. Um, and then once I reached that final stage, the offer stage, it went like radio silence from the company and from my mentor. And I didn't want to message him because I didn't want to push, but I was just like, what's going on? And then he sent me a message being like, I've been let go. I said, what? Like, what do you mean you've been let go? Like, this guy is brilliant. He's brilliant at what he does and consistently brilliant. Like, what do you mean you've been let go? Essentially, he was made a scapegoat for something, and they got rid of him because they needed someone to blame. He was let go from the company. And of course, after that, they're not going to hire me because me and this guy were really close. Um, I was like raving about him in all my interviews because he's genuinely such a wonderful and intelligent guy. And they're not going to let go of him in a very bad way and then hire someone who has loyalties to him. So at that point, I was just like, of course, like, I hope you're okay. You know, what's next? Let's like let me hear how you're feeling and stuff like that. It's like it sucks. Like that sucks being let go when you haven't done anything wrong. Um, but on my end as well, I was just like, God, this is a role that I would have gotten. He would have like given me that role, but again, blocked. I don't know why, but blocked. So that was my first offer that I thought I was going to get that was dashed. The second one was this company I was speaking to that really, really wanted me. Like, I had the first call with the internal recruiter, and we got along so well. And she was like, I don't say this often, but you are like the most perfect culture fit within the company. I'd love to move you on to speak to the hiring manager next. And I was like, great, fantastic. I had the call with the hiring manager. It went really, really well, I think. Well, I know that it went well because she then called me like an hour later being like, he loved you. Like, you were great. We'd love to move you on to the next round, which was a task stage. And I was like, yes, I'd love that. I sent them an email asking them a question about the task, and she was like, okay, let me forward this to him and find out what the answer is. And by the way, he loves that you asked this question. Like, they were really, really keen to have me be part of the team, and they really loved what I seemed to, well, what they perceived that I brought to the company. And it got to the point where they had ended up it got to the point where they were meant to get back to me like 24 hours after I presented the task, but that was delayed. I sent them an email being like, hey, any news? Like, what's going on? And they were like, we'll get back to you tomorrow. We're just having to make final decisions and stuff. And the next day, she called me and she was like, first of all, she was so nervous and like stumbling over all her words and like just really like clearly nervous. And at that moment I just knew it wasn't, I mean, to be fair, I knew when they didn't get back to me within the 24-hour period that they had moved on to someone else. But she was like, there was just someone that we felt we had to go with because they had experience within the industry that we're operating within. And what can I do? What can I do? Someone else has experience within the same industry. I don't have experience within that industry. I can't go back and like get experience within that industry. Um, but yeah, they took additional time because they were looking to see whether they could create a role for me, where they can get money to create that role for me. But they couldn't do it. And that was the second opportunity I thought I was going to get dashed. And the third one was a company that I randomly spoke to in January. And the call was weird because after the meeting, I sent my friend a message being like, awful interview, worst interview ever. Um, like definitely no, like definitely no. I think I did poorly in that. I don't know what was going on with me that day. Maybe I was tired, don't know what was happening. But then they sent me a message like a couple months later being like, hey, we'd love to meet with you. Like it seemed like for some reason the hiring took a pause. They didn't give me an explanation for that. So after they said they want to meet with me, I said, cool. Had the conversation with the hiring manager. That apparently went well. I thought it was meh. It went well on their end. They wanted to move me on to the task stage, and they were like really really fast in that. Like the process from after they reached back out to me to being at the final stage was within like 2 hours. It was really really quick. And then the recruiter called me like in the middle of the week, being like, "Hey Veda, yeah, we obviously want to move you to the next stage, but we want to try and get a date down in the diary. Are you available on Friday to present the task? I know it's short notice, but the CEO is away next week on annual leave, so we want to get this done ASAP because we know you're in about like a billion other processes." And there was like a sense of urgency on their end, like they really wanted this to happen. They really wanted. It seemed like they really wanted me. I said, yeah, sure, I can do Friday. And then she said, okay, cool, that's great. Let me just confirm things on my end and I'll pop a date in the diaries. And then a couple hours after that, she was like, yeah, there's another candidate who is unable to do this week due to being an event and somewhere in like in mainland Europe. So if we were to have the call anywhere on Friday, we wouldn't be able to make a decision until we've seen everyone, which understandable. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So we moved it to like the week after next. And by the time the week after next came, things internally within me were changing so quickly. And I was just like, I don't think this role's right. I don't think the company's right. I barely even like understand or care to understand or have even dug down deep into what it is they do, and it's just feeling quite awkward. So I'm just going to send them an email being like, it's a no for me. I'm going to go with another opportunity. So that was the third one that I think I would have gotten that one if things happened within the week before the CEO went away. But yeah, that's my third one gone. And actually, oh my goodness, there was this other job. So this is the one job that I actually wanted. I really, really wanted this role. I spoke to the CEO, and he was just like, I really liked him. Like, I thought we'd get along well. He seemed really smart, and the company and the product that they were building was very interesting to me. And it was like one of those category defining products that you don't necessarily see that comes along every so often. And we had the interview. It ran over for like 15 to 20 minutes. I thought it went really, really well. And he was like, yeah, let's meet. Rather than doing a task, we can just like meet up and, figure out maybe you can come to the offices and we can chat, meet the team, do all those things. And I was like, yep, great, sounds good. And after that meeting happened on a Friday. After that meeting, I went and met my husband for dinner before we traveled to Edinburgh. And I was like, I think this interview went really well. I actually really want the role. The role is being in charge of the department. Like I know, like the CEO was someone that I knew would have to be managed. He was going to be a nightmare. He was going to be a nightmare, but I was like, I can manage him because I was already managing him in our very first call. Um, and as I took some more time to think about the role, I was just like, I just knew that at least 1 year of my life, I wouldn't be able to do anything outside of work because this role was going to be very intense. But I was still excited about like what could be built. I had all these ideas of different strategies and tactics that can be done. I remember typing some of them up and sending them over to him via email and was just like, these are my ideas. And he was like, fantastic, great, can't wait to meet next week. And I was feeling generally quite positive about it. But I had another process going on with a company that was like three steps back and within a subcategory. And I was just a bit confused as to what to do. I was like, one of them like really limits me, and one of them limits my career growth and my career potential. Like, if I take this role that's three steps back within a subcategory, that can make any forward movement within my career in the future very, very, very difficult. But then this other role I'm excited about. I've sort of accepted that a year of my life will be spent fully given to this company, and the CEO that's going to be a nightmare. But we got along, and I was confused as to which decisions to make. It's like, do I make the decision where a year of my life is gone, or do I make a decision where any future career prospects is going to be heavily, heavily hindered? And when we were in Edinburgh, very confused. When we came back from Edinburgh, I was just like, God, like, what do I do? Because I am so unbelievably confused. It feels like, even outside of these two situations, it feels like there's so many paths for me to take, and I have no idea which one to go down. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't know what is right. Like, I don't know the future. All I know are the options that are in front of me, and the outcome of it. That's a big question mark. I don't know what to do. But then more specifically with these two roles, with the one I was most excited about that I actually wanted, I was like, God, is this even right? Is this even right for me? I asked them those questions. I prayed, and I was like, let me just, before I go to bed, let me open up my phone and look at Glassdoor and read the reviews. And I went on to Glassdoor. The reviews for the company were terrible, like terrible. But then again, it was like the typical things that you would hear about a startup. So like, it's unorganized, there's no structure, things keep on changing day to day, which I'm used to. It's an environment that I've been working in for the past 6 years, and I'm used to that. And I'm quite good at working in like chaotic environments and bringing order within the chaos. So that was fine for me. But then there was this one review that I read where the person was like, I had no idea of the company's controversy before I joined. And I was like, what? What controversy? Like, I heard nothing about this. So I went to my friend Google, and I was like, Google, name of company, controversy. Nothing really came up, like a few posts here and there, nothing really that major. And then kept on scrolling, kept on changing what I was searching for, and I found an article by Vice. Vice, like the big media company. Vice wrote a very long article about the company and the controversy that has been going on. Gosh, I saw things like they don't pay black creators. I said, wow. One of the reasons why I love the company was because I was looking at the people who were at the company, and there were a number of black people in leadership. They're like the co-founders and CEO. They weren't black. But I was like, they've hired a lot of black people. I love to see it. But that review said that they don't pay black creators. And I said, wow. Another one. They made me come into work the day after my father died. With full knowledge that that person's father had died, they made that guy come into work. Another one. They pit us against each other. So they would say one thing to one group, say another thing to another group, and say, don't mix with each other. And that created drama, that created tension, that created segregation, and a few other things. And people just kept on talking about how abusive the culture was, how disrespectful leadership was to them, how shady leadership was. And it reached a point where some of the co-founders left the company, and a couple of them were left. And when I read this, I was like, okay, but could I still join? Could I still join? I mean, it seems as though like that was in the past. This is now. The role's good, the company's good, it pays well. It's a Series A company. I can definitely get some good stock options and hopefully be paid handsomely whenever they exit. And I thought about it some more, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this because I mean, even though some of the co-founders left, the ones that were still there, they allowed for that environment to happen, that abusive environment to happen. They didn't stop it, they were facilitators of it. And I don't believe that, yes, I think that people can change. And I think organizations can change. And, I'd love to give it the benefit of the doubt. However, when it comes to business, and if the foundations of the business is making revenue and making revenue at whatever cost, which has seemed to be the case in the past where they haven't treated people well, I don't think I can be a part of that. And I don't think there's going to be I don't think the level of change I would need to be at that company would be there. So that was also another job I was like, yeah, this just hasn't worked out. Again, blocked. First job with my mentor, blocked. Second job at the company that wanted me, blocked. Third job that randomly came back after 2 months of silence, blocked. This one where they didn't pay black creators, blocked. But I left that one. I was like, soz. So with all of that again, I was like, God, what is going on? What's happening, God? What's going on? Because I'm trying, I'm working hard at this. I am tired. For the last 2 weeks, I've had zero energy. I've been so low. I've been so sad. I've been so sad because my days are spent applying to roles that I don't want. My days are spent interviewing at companies that I don't want to be at. My days are spent learning about roles and strategies that I don't care about. Ultimately, I don't care about. And I was just, I think, giving time to things that I didn't want and that maybe were not right for me. Or, this is the second option, which I think is true. I think that, oh, there's a fly. Ill, die. I think I think that in this entire process, what has happened has been there's been a change internally. What I want has been changing, how I see things has been changing, and I feel like I've reached a point now where I have a lot more clarity. And it's been tough getting this clarity because when there is a situation where there's so many paths that can be taken and it feels like whatever path I choose is going to have like major consequences, um like it's just it was just hard. It was just hard. um my husband kept on asking me like, what do you want, what do you want? And I was like, Nick, please, I'm not going to spend time talking about what I want again, because all I want is just to earn money. That's literally it. That's genuinely all I want. And I just wouldn't have a conversation with him again because I felt like I was already wasting my time with these interviews. I was already getting rejected for things that I didn't want. I was already feeling really low and like quite sad just in general doing this and giving my time to this. And I felt talking again about what I actually want was just a waste of time. But a couple of weeks ago, I decided, okay, I will have this conversation. He asked me again, he was like, what do you want? And I was like, I want to create. That's what I want to do. And then he was like, do you need these jobs at this high level? And do you need these jobs within, you know, more general roles to create? And I said, no, I don't need that. And he said to me, Rada, you have never been one to do something just because of the money. There's always been like a purpose attached to it. And I said, yeah, that's true. And I began to see that the last couple of months where I have been chasing roles simply because of money hasn't really been aligned to who I am, who I want to be, or where I want to go. So after we had that conversation and I had a bit more clarity, The next day, I went out for a really long walk, a prayer walk, and I was just talking to God and spending some time in silence listening as well. And there was a moment where I made a decision, a momentary decision, where I was like, I am I'm not going to get a career job. I don't want this career. I don't know why I'm spending so much time and efforts trying to get a job that allows for me to continue having this career at the level that I'm currently at. What if I just get a job that simply pays the minimum and not my highest minimum, the minimum to cover expenses, and I create? And in the moment where I made that decision, where I fully just let go of the career that I don't actually want and let go of any prospects of trying to get a job within my former career, trying to get a job that keeps me at a certain level, I felt so good. I felt so light. I felt so free. I started to have creative thoughts of different content I can create. I felt like, you know, when you're walking outside in the UK and it's really just grey and cloudy, and then on the occasion that the sun like pops through the clouds and disperses the clouds, it felt like that moment that the sun is started to shine. There's a warm glow on my face, and I'm now feeling more connected to myself and everything around me. Things are making sense again. It felt good. Because why am I chasing something and working so hard to get something that I don't actually want? But then that was followed up by fear. I'm not gonna lie, it was followed up by fear. I had fear of letting go of this career because I'm just like, if I let go of it now and I go all into the career change that I want in training, in, you know, looking for work, in building up just my skills and my abilities, and this doesn't work out, then I have been set back a few levels in my former career. So there was that fear of letting go to hold on to something that could potentially not work. And I don't like thinking like that. To be fair, that thought did not last for long at all, because throughout my entire life, I've been very much like, if there's something that I want to do, I'm going to do it and it's going to work out for me. And honestly, by the grace of God, that's how things have been. Um, career, career wise, career wise, I have been so blessed. I mean, I'm 28 with 12 years of experience. Um, when I moved to London wanting to get a role within luxury marketing, and I got that in the most incredible, only God way. Like, my husband met someone on a tube platform in the middle of London on a busy Saturday night who happened to work at the company I was in conversations with that has under 50 people. And that person in that company was fighting for me to get the job. Once they gave the job to me, he left within a month. After that role, I was like, God, there's no money in luxury marketing. I want to do something else. I want to do something that I can work hard in and get paid well for. I want to get into fintech. And a job that was career defining came along. I met my mentor there. I got to travel to many different places there. It was great. I left that role, joined another company that allowed for a lot of travel within a short period of time. Left that role and I was like, God, the next thing that I want is a head of marketing role. I want to be in charge of the entire marketing function. I have so much experience in so many different areas of it, and I want to bring it all together in an official capacity. Got that role too. And I just feel like in my career life, God has been so faithful, and his faithfulness is something that has allowed me to feel like what I will put my hand to, as long as he's ordained it, it's going to work out. So that moment of having that fear of what if it doesn't work out, that was really, really scary. But it was impossible for it to last for a long period of time. There was also the fear of, okay, I'm going to be doing a job where I'm not going to be paid a lot, which means that may not be able to afford the things I once was able to afford. And I don't think I don't like necessarily spend a lot of money on expensive things. I'm not that materialistic, but the things that I have, like I they're high quality things, and I knew that if I were to get a job that just pays the minimum, that just pays the bills, I may not necessarily be able to afford all the high quality things I can afford at one go. Um, this freaking fly, what the heck? Which was something that took a little bit longer, like a few hours to let go of. Like, okay, I may not be able to travel as frequently. Um, when we travel, it may have to be 3 star. Oh, I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with a 3 star. Um, so I had to let go of that as well. And then I got really excited because I was like, okay, what jobs can I do? I could work in Aldi, I could work in any retail shop. I mean, there's limited amount of options in our town because it's very, very small. Like there are 15,000, 16,000 people in this town. And there are not that many like big businesses that are hiring. But then I thought, oh my goodness, I can babysit. So I worked with kids for 5 years. I've done like au pairing before. I could babysit. That would be really, really fun. And I got really excited about all the potential things I could be doing. That is just a job that pays me to do the minimum that I can do, clock in, clock out. And when I clock out, I leave my work in the building. I don't have to take it home with me. I don't have to be thinking about it. And I got so excited about that. And I was like, no more marketing roles, no more marketing. I don't want that anymore because this is not the one for me. But as the days have gone by, I've just been like, okay, but maybe it could also be marketing. Maybe it could be marketing because not every role is made the same. Not every role is made the same. Like I could get a job like the one that is 3 stages down and within a subcategory. I could do that, have less responsibility, still be able to give something to the company, but in return, I get freedom to create outside of work. Because I almost wrote off marketing completely, but I have the skills, I have the experience. So maybe that's going to be it. So in this process, I believe that in the last 2 months, where I have just gone through so many rejections, so much fatigue and exhaustion, so many interviews, and so much has been changing internally within me, I'm now at a stage where I'm more confident in what's next. But I also feel that God has taken me through that to ready my mind and my focus for what this new season I'm about to enter is going to be about. And it's not about making money, it's about what I'm building. There was something that I believe God said this to me recently, and I'm like, I'm not that smart. But let me read it out. So I'm entering a new sort of industry that I haven't really been in before, and it's very, very creative and requires a creative brain, which I'm having fun exploring and putting into practice. And something that I believe he said to me was focus on the steps, focus on your input, not the results. This is what is needed for longevity in this season. And why, for me, this is so important and why this connected with me on a very, very deep level is for the entirety of my former career, I have had to focus on results because money's being invested. What is the ROI? Are we reaching the right people? Are we driving pipeline? Are we driving revenue? Are we doing what we need to do to move the business forward? My professional life has been fully focused on results, not creativity. Yes, I've been creative in different ways, but that creativity has had to be attached to outcomes. And in this new season, in the beginnings of this creative season that I'm currently in, I can't focus on the results. I need to focus on what I'm putting into it. I need to focus on my creativity and creating things that I enjoy and that can hopefully help others in whatever shape or form it helped others. But like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. I needed to hear focus on your input, not on the results, because that is what's needed for longevity. And I want to have longevity in this new industry. I mean, if you are currently someone who is experiencing a lot of confusion about maybe their next steps, this could be work, this could be other areas of life, and you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, I would encourage you to lean into that. If you don't, explore where you don't want to explore. Speak to those around you who truly know you and who truly love you and who truly support you, and get their input, get them to communicate what they see in you. Because it's been the conversations I've had with my husband, with my friends, with my family that have enabled me to get to this point where I feel a lot more sure. There's been so much confusion, but now I feel like I'm in this space where I feel a lot more sure about what my next step is. Now it's really on me to, have the input to focus on what I'm actually creating and on God to provide in whatever way He's going to provide. But I wouldn't have gotten to the stage without my loved ones and my Jesus, And if you are currently in a situation where you are making life-changing decisions, or as I'm saying that, I remember something so I went to London at the beginning of 2019. I went to Hillsong Church and Christine Kane was there, and I was like super surprised to see her there. And she was on stage preaching, and something that she said was that this generation is so afraid of making mistakes. They're like, oh gosh, I can't make such a big mistake, because if I make a big mistake, my life will be over. They don't realize that God is bigger than the biggest mistake you could make. They don't realize that. And when she said that, I was like, wow. That's so true, because at that point, I was also at a stage where I had to make a decision. I didn't know whether to move to London, to stay in Edinburgh. I did not know what I should be doing. I was in this relationship with a guy that I loved and I'm now married to. I had no idea what to do. And when she said that, I was like, yep, let me just go for it. Because I think it's really easy to be scared to make a move because you're scared about making the wrong move. But we're not God. We don't know the end from the beginning. Like, we can only make decisions based on the current information that we have, and we will never have all the information. We can get as much information as we can, but at the end of the day, any step that we take is going to be a risk. Calculated or not, is a risk. And if you are in a position at the moment where you are making some big decisions, where you are entering a new season in life and you just don't know what's going on, there may be some confusion, there may be different options ahead of you, email me at justtalkaboutitpod@gmail.com. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Don't go through these things alone. I'm a perfect stranger. Send me a message. And if you haven't already, make sure you watch Want to Be on Top, whatever the America's Next Top Model documentary is called, because we're going to be discussing it on a very, very, very soon, what's English? Very, very soon released on a podcast episode in the near future. I'll just say that. Anyway, have a good day, have a good week, have a good life. Bye!